This week I'm joined by my co-collaborator Mike Whitehouse as we dive deep into the new ZimaBoard 2, and I gotta say, this puppy rocks.
Learn with Andy Malone.
Well, there's no doubt that small form factor PCs and computing projects continue to grow in popularity. And on this week's episode, I'm joined by my co-collaborator, Mike Whitehouse, as we delve deep into the new ZimaBoard 2 project. And we're going to do a full tech review. Now, if you've not seen the channel before, please go ahead, click that subscribe button and definitely like the video because your support really does help us. And if you've got questions and comments, as always, pop those down below. And with that, let me introduce my good friend Mike Whitehouse, or Mike in the Cloud, who's going to give us a very nice tech overview of the ZimaBoard 2. Hey, good morning, Mike. Great to see you again.
Hi Andy, nice to see you again.
Hey, absolutely. So what have you got for us today?
The new ZimaBoard 2. This thing's great. Lovely little mini computer. I've got an unboxing for you, and I've also got a little bit of demonstration on how to get set up with the ZimaBoard 2 and get some local AI running on the device. So today we're going to be taking a look at the ZimaBoard 2. Comes in some nice packaging here. Eco-friendly, biodegradable, or cardboard packaging, but still not feeling cheap. This does feel like a premium package product. Inside we've got our ZimaBoard 1 and our accessories 2 box. So let's get rid of the ZimaBoard 1 box for the moment and take a look at what we've actually got inside the accessories. So opening this up, we've got a few bits and bobs inside here. We've got some cables for plugging in our SATA 2 devices, our hard drives if we want to. A universal power brick, which is nice. Comes with a bunch of different adapters. Little fan to stick on top to keep the actual ZimaBoard itself cool, and included some screwdrivers. I mean, that's quite nice considering these screwdrivers, if we just change the focus here, they're two different hex bits or Torx bits, which is not common to have in your screwdriver kit. So let's pop all those back in the box and let's go take a look at the ZimaBoard 1 box itself. Again, nice little fan. I do like that touch. So over here on the main box we have an elastic strap, and this box can also function on the top as a little stand for your ZimaBoard and a couple of 2.5-inch drives. We've got a nice description here, or a nice letter here from the ZimaBoard guys. And let's take a look at the device itself. This thing does not feel cheap at all when you take it out. So we've got a tiny little manual, not that we're going to need that because we've got everything we need online. So we can put that to one side. So this thing is made out of solid aluminium, it seems. It's pretty heavy. It's quite a hefty thing. And what we've got is, well, oh, actually this feels really, really premium. It seems like it's one giant heatsink. So we've got some SATA power. We've got a couple of SATA adapters on the back end of it. We've got some HDMI, a mini barrel there, a couple of USBs, and a couple of NICs. Now the most important thing on this though is actually going to be what's on the side here, which is going to be our PCIe slot. That can be used to attach a lot more adapters, including GPUs. So let's get on with having a look what this thing actually does. Alright, so I'm here on the web interface now. I've plugged this thing in and let's go see what it does. Alright, let's accept that policy, and actually, you know what, we'll change this from US to UK, so let's change that to English UK rather than English Simplified. We'll build a local account down here, so we'll just use my alias and a password. Introducing the ZimaOS. Yes, so this thing comes preloaded with Zima's own operating system to make things easy for use. We can actually load other things on here if we want to, so I can completely trash this OS and then throw something like Arch on here if we wanted. Or Ubuntu server, which would be a little simpler, a little easier. So we've got a few interesting options down here, like Zima Client's Peer Drop. But here we go, we're in. ZimaOS seems pretty simple. Let's have a look at the App Store. Now, I'm assuming a lot of these products, like ZimaBoard, the apps that actually come preloaded on here are really just containers, and it seems there's no difference here. So let's scroll through. We've got quite a few. We've got hundreds of applications down here, in fact. Yeah, there appears to be all the regular sort of stuff like Jellyfin down here. and RetroArch, Obsidian. I do use a lot of Obsidian actually. Some DeepSeek app, DuckDuckGo's app. Actually, one of the best tests that we can do today with one of these little small boards is to load some local AI onto it. So let's go and have a look at what we've got for local AI down here. The thing that I'm normally looking for local AI, just to get started with, is something like Ollama. So let's go back and search for Ollama. And yeah, we've got Ollama here for the various different models. We've also got OpenWebUI that's going to make things even easier for us. So OpenWebUI, we're going to go and install that. It's basically like having your own little ChatGPT interface. It's just a web interface, but it has Ollama at the back end of it to power some local AI models. But it gives us a nice easy interface to work with. So let's install that and let's see how it kind of performs here on this ZimaBoard. Now you have to remember, this ZimaBoard does not have a GPU in here. So this is only going to be running off the CPU. In reality, that's going to be a lot faster if you throw some GPUs at this. So that's all nicely installed. So let's go and open up this OpenWebUI and see what we can get going. Explore the cosmos wherever you are. Well, as long as I've got connectivity, I guess, to my local device. So let's go and make a new account down here. This is only going to be local. So again, we'll use my alias, and you're not getting my email here. So we're just going to say @noemail.com, which should be perfectly fine. And we'll drop a password in just to drop into our OpenWebUI. Awesome. What's new? What's new is a lot of emojis. Does anybody else get tired of all the emojis that's created by a modern AI system? It's pretty exhausting. Emojis and bullet points. Okay, so we don't have any models preloaded here at all, so we're going to have to go and download some. Now, I want a small model, and some of the people that have been doing the best small models recently are actually Google with their Gemma 4 model. So let's go and have a look down here. Make sure we've got our connection set up to Ollama, which it is. That's all done by default, but I can't actually browse any models from here. So I guess what we're going to have to do is pop into manage. We're going to have to go and pull a model from ollama.com. Now we just need to make sure I'm getting the right name of the model here. There doesn't appear to be a search box for this. So we'll pop it straight over and have a look at Gemma here on the Ollama list. We should be able to find Gemma 4. Great. Now there's a few different versions of Gemma 4 down here, depending on what kind of hardware you've got. Since I've got no GPU in here, well, let's try the latest version over here. Let's try this 4 billion parameters version. This does actually work on my iPhone, on my iPhone 17 Pro Max, and it does actually work quite well. But that does have a GPU actually loaded into the phone. Very, very good for local AI models. So let's go and pull that down and see if we can actually interface with this local AI model. So far, it's been quite quick to set this thing up, quite quick to get this up and running. It's all good. Let's just check down here. Yep, okay. Gemma 4 can do all of these things. Gemma 4 can Gemma 4 do image generation? I don't think it can. Yeah, so hang on, let's just go back and check that. Image generation down here. Can Gemma 4 do image generation? Yeah, no, it can't do it. Okay. We might as well take that tick box off then. There's no point in trying to make the model do something that it can't do. Can it do web search? Should be able to do. It can do tool calling. Yeah, okay, it can perform those web search functions. Great. So let's go and leave that in place and save and update. Cool. So now we can just go back to our chat window here with Gemma 4 E4B, which is 4 billion parameters, and we can go and see how this actually works. Let's give it one of these test prompts. Create what are 5 creative things I could do with my kids' art, and we'll wait for this to do it. Okay, this is taking its time. This is really taking its time. But remember, this is very CPU bound at the moment on this ZimaBoard, so it will take a few seconds to get going. It's probably also going to be doing thinking as well. It's eating up all the RAM, and that should, there we go, that spiked up the CPU as well. In reality, again, you want to do local AI, perfectly fine. You're going to want to throw a 30 series card at it at least for a decent model nowadays, or get some more specialist hardware for that as well. But thanks to the ZimaBoard's PCIe slot, we can chuck those in and we can attach that specialist hardware should we need to attach things like a TPU or a GPU, or if you're a bit baller, you can go and throw one of those Quattro cards at it if you want to. So let's go and get a smaller model instead. Let's go and get the 2 billion parameter model and see how that performs, see if that's actually even more useful. Now this is actually still stuck in thinking mode, so that's going to use a whole bunch of tokens and a whole bunch of processing power to even start the initial prompt. Even if I say something like hello, it's still going to spend 5 minutes thinking about how to answer hello and in what way it should answer hello to me. So maybe we should go in and tweak that and turn off the thinking to get a more immediate response. So we can tweak this model over here. We'll just change the response tags and the reasoning tags, and we'll just set that to disable for the moment. And hopefully we'll get quicker answers. Still going, about 15 seconds to actually say hello. So again, CPU band, if you had an NVIDIA GPU in here, the CPU is actually amazing for this sort of stuff. And we can also upgrade the RAM inside here as well to add this to be a better speed. If we start throwing 30 series cards at this is pretty much an instant response. So we can see how long does it take to give me FizzBuzz in Python here. This is probably going to take a good minute or so to actually start producing Python. Actually start producing Python code and start producing FizzBuzz in Python. Oh, there we go. Thought for 56 seconds down there. It's actually started to give me the final outputs. Yep, and that's FizzBuzz in Python. Okay, so I mean, as a proof of concept, this actually works, and it works really well. I mean, I went from having a ZimaBoard to having it plugged in and set up and having a local AI running with less than 5 minutes. I'd say it's probably even in 3 minutes, to be honest. It didn't really take too long to install things. Of course, that depends on the speed of your internet connection for downloading the models, but that's quite impressive. I'm quite impressed by that ZimaOS. It's very simple, very quick to get up and running. Don't have to worry about containers, don't have to worry about anything else. But by default, I am limited on the internal storage that I had on this ZimaBoard. In reality, again, the ZimaBoard is just a centralized point where I can actually add additional accessories to it. So adding in extra hard drives to make it a NAS or give it some extra storage space, or actually chucking in a GPU on that PCIe slot makes things a lot faster to add to this ecosystem. You should think of it as a core connection for your ecosystem. So let's go and stop that Open Web UI, and we will try doing something else. We're going to try playing with the virtual machines. Alright, so there's a built-in virtual machines platform here. Oh, and this is nice. I can just download some distributions straight away. Well, let's go for Arch, because obviously I run Arch, by the way. So yeah, let's download that. It appears to be pulling it. Where it's pulling it from, I'm not entirely sure. It's not even telling me. Don't quite like that. I think I would like an actual URL to show me exactly where that's coming from, but we'll see later on, I guess. And let's wait for that to download. Alright, that's pulled down. Okay, it seems to be an official Arch ISO. I mean, if you want to be really secure, I suppose you'd have to go off and check that, check the hashes for it. But let's just go and create a new virtual machine here. I'm just going to leave all the defaults in place. Wow, that's booted pretty quickly. So Arch Linux installation, and yeah, we're in. Okay, that was cool. I suppose there's a few settings later on to configure the actual specifications of the virtual machines, but that was quite quick and easy if I just wanted to throw up a single VM and get it working. Okay, let's go try another one. I've got Windows 10 and Windows 11. Let's go download one of those, I guess. Again, a nice little download box. I guess that's pulling it from Microsoft, but it doesn't actually specify where. So let's skip ahead and start to run that Windows OS. Okay, so I need to use a little small disk here because I've kind of run out of space. But any key to boot from CD or DVD and straight into Windows installation. I mean, that couldn't be simpler, to be honest. That's a great little virtual machine system. So instead of boring you with the installation of Windows, let's come and have a look at the website down here. So we get 16 gig of RAM, we get some pretty decent CPU on there. We've got this nice little box that it comes in, so we can use this to mount some SSDs. That's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, suppose you'll get rid of that very quickly. And a few of the options down here, up to 36 terabytes of capacity. Yep, the home cinema, all the good stuff down there, an AI home sentinel. Just some options of what you could do with this. I mean, at the end of the day, it really is just a little mini computer with a nice PCIe slot on the side, so we can hook up whatever we really want to it. I suppose you're going to hook up mainly their GPUs or some really high-speed storage. So it's this nice central board. I quite like it. Thanks again for having me on your channel. Always a pleasure to be here. I hope you enjoyed that ZimaBoard 2 review. And if you'd like to see more of my content on my channel at MW Cloud, please follow the links below.
Hey, that's absolutely awesome, Mike. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate your efforts and your participation there. So there you have it, the ZimaBoard 2. What do you think? Hey, we'd love your questions, so get those down below. And don't forget to subscribe to Mike in the Cloud on his YouTube channel, as well as mine, of course. If you enjoyed the video, give me a big thumbs up. And what can I say? I look forward to seeing you next time around. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.